back with Addy Du Lac, who just read a very fun sample from Miss Mason's Secret Baron. And like I said before the break, this was a really interesting scene because you were juxtaposing what's going on with the characters by having them watch Verdi's opera and comment on it. And Regina even has the explicit thought of how the opera has this theme of freedom versus love. And she doesn't anticipate finding herself in that quandary, but she can relate to it so deeply. So let's just start with like what called to you to tell the story of Regina, who is kind of trapped in a marriage to someone who she doesn't even know who she's going to marry.
I love an arranged marriage. I love that trope. I think it's so juicy. I love the idea of strangers being forced together and like by virtue of their sort of by dumb luck of their personalities or by virtue of, you know, just things, them being the kind of people who are solution focused. Like they find a way through and they're able to discover this person and realize, okay, maybe you don't suck. Maybe maybe you're not the worst thing ever, right? And with Regina, I knew that I wanted to have an arranged marriage where it's sort of there's always, especially in Asian dramas, there's always like a secret, millionaire, always is like some kind of thing where he's like a secret heir. So when I was working on Regina's story, especially because I had already decided that she was going to be South Asian, I knew I wanted her to be an arranged marriage. But I wanted it to be a sort of arranged marriage with a twist, right? And I liked playing with the idea of her being trapped, but at the same time, not she hasn't lost her agency because I mean, as you when you read the book, as you read it, she's not pitiful. She doesn't pity herself. She doesn't see herself as a victim. She doesn't have any of that self pity going on. She understands the function of what she's been called to do, and she has come to sort of embrace it because the value of what she's able to present, it matters to her. It matters to her that by becoming a baroness, she will be able to give a little more protection and give a little more influence, not necessarily to her father, but to her mother and her little sister. She has this, she sees herself as like working in partnership with her father to finally be able to really protect their family. The reality of the situation is in their home, they're safe and they're happy and they can have this very warm family. But the minute they step outside of that house, it's a problem, right? Everything about them becomes a problem. And them living in India, it was easier because they're brown people, they're Indian people everywhere. They had their own social circle. But then they moved to England, and now her mother sticks out like a sore thumb. She sort of witnesses, oh God, this is what I can help. This is what I can do for my family. And it was very important to me that she not be, even though, the arranged marriage and the, oh no, part of is in Bollywood, but I didn't want her to feel sort of like melodramatic. I didn't want her to feel like, or I didn't want the audience to read her and be like, oh no, this poor girl, even though on a way you do, she doesn't need to be saved in that way. If she actually does have to marry this fiance, and he turns out he's not the man of her dreams, he's never going to be Leo. But say he's not the man of her dreams, she's like, I'll work with this. That was the first part of it. Was like I had to figure out Regina and what kind of person she was and what kind of steel she's made of. And then once I had that sorted out, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if it ended up being Leo? What if I ended up pairing all these suckers off? Because that wasn't the original plan. Leo was supposed to show up and then leave.
Ah.
And then I was like, but what if I can? So then I put it in there and then I said, oh my God, like, this will be, this will be so interesting because he's a person who is once I figured out who he was, I was like, okay, he's not going to want this. This is the opposite of everything that, not only everything that he is, but it's the opposite of everything that he values. He values hard work. He values like earning your space. He
Hmm.
values respect, and like he has these things, and he's managed to get it for himself. And now he's being offered something that gives it would technically give him more respect, but it is not earned. It is the opposite of earned. It is entitlement, literally and figuratively. And he's
Yeah.
just like, ew, no, like that's horrible. But then it's sort of both of them are in that position where it's like the things that they value could be at risk if they strike out in this new path.
Mm.